So, hey Sagittarius, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful reading for whenever you find it in 2026, I should say. And we're diving right in. There is the wonderful Empress and the Four of Swords again and again and again showing up in 2026. The yearly reading, the summer reading, and this reading as well. Justice and the Wounded Warrior with the Nine of Wands. That's a good thing. I'm doing 10 cards, not the Celtic cross, but just dealing as they come. Nine of Pentacles with the Queen of Wands. You are pretty much doing what you love, loving what you do. Low-hanging fruits in the sense that you're just doing what makes sense for you, and you do it. You know, you enjoy doing it. It's in alignment with your inner chords, in alignment with your subconscious frequency and your passion. And this passion is not about suffering, right? This passion is about joyful creation. Page of Wands is kind of a jolly good fellow. He's going into that direction that is giving him back while you're doing it, right? You can actually put this like this here. Then it makes sense, right? So you're going to rewarding yourself through what it is that you're doing. So you're doing what you love. And if you do what you love, then doing that is pretty much, okay, to more what you want, right? What you do. Nine of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles, the Victory March, my friend. This is a good reading, right? There is fear. There is this mindset of the Wounded Warrior. There's overthinking. There's blocking yourself, dark imaginings, right? Blocking yourself, overthinking yourself. That seems to be an issue here underlying all that. But all that we've seen here is just pretty damn beautiful. There's a reason why you feel like that. Nine of Swords energy sometimes. Where it's all about, you know, overthinking, worrying too much, blocking yourself, dark imaginings, using your mind to focus on what you cannot change, using your mind to focus on worries, disempowering thoughts, you know, negative scenarios. That's the Nine of Swords. That's the underlying energy. You're coming from a situation where you try to protect yourself, where you try to maybe isolate yourself, insulate yourself, protect yourself from something that happened to you, which was probably pretty damn effed up, right? Maybe it's narcissistic abuse in the past. Maybe it's abandonment, you know, somebody took advantage of you, something like that. So you took a beating in whatever sort. That's the Wounded Warrior. And you kind of try to protect yourself, right? And this topic of protection is kind of sometimes, you know, closing yourself in or isolating yourself, right? So nobody's coming through that wall. And that wall can also be overthinking energies, worrying too much, not trusting. That's also not trusting yourself, not trusting your own ability, retreating. That energy, you leave that behind you. And the way you do this is through meditation, through breath work. That's always showing up here. This combination with the Four of Swords in contrast to the Eight of Swords, by the way, this is the way you should not use your mind. And this is the way you should use your mind. So, you know, not overthinking, not thinking about stuff that you cannot change, but cultivating your consciousness, cultivating your mind through mindfulness. And how do you develop mindfulness? What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is basically if somebody triggers you, you're not constantly reacting, right? Ding, no, ding. And then you mindful enough to realize, okay, there's something that triggers me, but I'm not instantly reacting to it. I'm mindful enough to take a step back. Breathe for a second, right? Take your time and then decide, do I want to respond to it or do I want to, you know, not give this any attention at all? And this ability is the inner mastership, and you're showing up here, all 4 queens rolled into one. That's the Empress, of course. Shows up all the freaking time in 2026. Very super important year for self-mastery, for being sure of who you truly are, loving yourself. Not just the shiny, beautiful stuff, but also the shadow aspects. That is self-mastery, right? Not excusing your shadow aspects, not running amok with them, not saying, oh, what the fuck, I don't care, right? Not nihilistic. That is not about nihilism. This is not about negating your shadow aspect. This is about looking at them, right? Okay, there's guilt, fear, shame. There are things that I'm not proud of. But you know what? They're part of my history. I can integrate them. Hopefully you can do that. If you can, then you're not negating them, then you're not denying them, then you know that they are there, you respect yourself, you love yourself, you can forgive yourself, and you can take responsibility to just make things better. Learn from your past, learn from your mistakes. That's an integrated, transcendent and integrated mastership, inner mastership, Empress energy, and that's how you cultivate it, right? Through meditation, through breath work. Breathwork, usually when you're dealing with things like that, negative breathing, so you breathe out longer than you breathe in. 1 in, 2 out. 5 seconds in, 10 seconds out, 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out. Whatever you can do, halfway comfortable, but make sure to push it all out. That's how you get rid of negative energy, which is lurking at the horizon in the past, most likely. That frequency is still there, but in summer 2026, or I would say in 2026, when you find this reading, there's justice at the horizon. The universe giving you something back. There are only 2 cards with scales on the whole tarot deck. That's the Justice card, and that's the 6 of Pentacles. So you deserve what's coming. What is coming is well earned, well deserved, because there is inner mastership. There is knowledge of yourself, true shadow integration. That's the Empress. And to maintain that frequency, to maintain that inner mastery, it's not that you once reach that frequency and then you're just done. No, it's a daily freaking practice. So you do meditation, you do breath work every day to stabilize your consciousness, to be in that mastership and apply that mastership. You know, if you sit for half an hour in silence, right? You hear the shadow. If there's some shadow aspect that is not integrated within yourself, that shadow aspect is letting you know that it's there. And in meditation, you're listening into your own psyche, into your own consciousness. And if there's something unintegrated that needs attention, it will make itself known. And if you can sit for half an hour or whatever in meditation and just be totally zen with yourself, that's self-mastery. And once you've reached that, you don't want anything else, right? So you just want to cultivate that and maintain that. So life keeps on happening, right? We are still human beings, we still make mistakes. But you know what? If you do breath work, release negativity if you need it. Stabilize your breath one-on-one if you are already in this beautiful frequency, right, of the Empress, self-mastery. But to maintain that breathwork and meditation every day, this is how you stabilize it. There's justice at the horizon. You're doing what you love to do. There's the Queen of Wands working with your subconsciousness. You cleaned it up, right? You cleared your subconsciousness, you integrated your shadow. Now you can take full advantage of all these beautiful frequencies that are flowing through your subconsciousness, which is the gateway to higher consciousness, to divine consciousness. There you have your creativity, there you have your passion, not in suffering for it, but joyful, repeated creation. Beautiful. That's the Queen of Wands. And that's what you're doing, low-hanging fruit. You just do what you love. And by that, you're creating the life that you want. By that, you're manifesting that, which is pretty much the highest expression of yourself. Nine of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles with the Victory March. Are you kidding me? Justice is here. 6 of Pentacles is also beautiful energy. You're basically getting something back from the universe. So if you've been narcissistic and totally horrible, the universe might kick you, but this is an empath channel, right? And if you're more on the empathic side, you most likely have given way too much. So it's time to receive something back. That is the justice that you deserve. And you can do that giving yourself something back by doing what you love, taking care of yourself, respecting yourself, doing what you love, and, you know, joyful creation. What makes sense to you, whatever it is, but carve out space and time, not just on the weekend, but every day to do that. That's a self-mastery meditation breathwork all the freaking time. So you're no longer snapping back into that victim role. You're no longer snapping back in disempowering thoughts, you know, worrying too much about stuff that you cannot change. If you focus instead on passionate, joyful creation, and you put in the work, right? That's the 9 of Pentacles. So you have to pick those damn grapes, right? The grapes are ripe, the ripes are grape, you know, but you have to pick them, right? They're not harvesting themselves. So you have to show up for what you love and do that and make it a daily practice. That's the success story. That's the 6 of Wands, and that is literally the 10 of Pentacles. Beautiful frequencies. And let's just do one Blue Angel Oracle deck card. Synchrotron, sorry. Synchrotron is, let's just find out. I thought I've read that tons of times. Infinite possibilities. It's basically speaking to listening to your heart. That is the most important. Not what makes sense on paper, not what makes sense on your CV. Just do what makes sense for yourself. What is the highest expression of yourself? What could you do all the freaking time to do that, right? And maybe whatever brought you into this wounded warrior mindset, whatever did not work out well, maybe in the last 9 years, right? Maybe since 2008, that was a divine detour, right? Trust in divine detours. Trust that what you've been through was, to some extent at least, necessary to bring you closer to your highest expression, to your true self, to a fully integrated person, right? You can love yourself only if you also integrate the shadow aspects of yourself. And surprisingly enough, very, very few people actually do that. The default setting is basically that you externalize all of your shadow stuff that you cannot deal with in yourself, and you fight it onto other people, on other people, in other people, their projections on it, right? You know, this is basically why unintegrated people, they will never find peace, right? Because they try to win the war outside of themselves. You can only win the war and win peace if you make peace with yourself, ultimately. But that's a different reading, that's a different story. I hope it resonates with you. If it does, share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think about it. And hopefully see you next time. Now, goodbye, my friend.